Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining me for this week's edition of the SMIE Consulting Midweek Roundup. It's Wednesday, June 17th, 2026, and today is the first of about 5 or 6, hopefully 5, World Cup SMIE Consulting Midweek Roundup. So we are wearing the shirt of whichever team is playing today, and I have 6 shirts that I'll be wearing during the course of the tournament. And so today we're wearing the land of my birth. That would be England. So we're wearing our England top and have my England hat that I'll be putting on shortly after I get off this webinar. So thank you for being a part of the conversation. And on Friday, we'll actually be putting on my USA jersey. We've already worn our Brazil jersey once, so that'll be going back on later this weekend. And then Colombia, they're actually on tonight, so they'll be going back on. And also Ecuador. So there we go. So we have our jerseys ready to go. So spicing up the midweek roundup for the next few weeks with a jersey of hopefully a team that's playing on the Wednesday. So we'll cover that throughout the World Cup tournament because it does bring the world together. And any of you who are in the U.S. who've been following various social media accounts, whether it's Freddie the German and or any other visitors to the U.S. for the World Cup, hearing their experiences, them sharing their experiences visiting famous American venues, restaurants, gas stations even, and just experiencing American culture and hospitality throughout the country, whether it's the Midwest or in the South or in Texas or wherever you might be. It's really just warms the heart to hear folks talking about their experiences of American culture. Because when this happened last time in 1994, when I was just finishing my first couple of years of work for my university, when the U.S. last hosted the World Cup and social media wasn't around, so we didn't get these instant responses and that would go viral all around the world. So certainly World Cup brings a lot of excitement, brings the world together for the 6 weeks of a 48-team tournament. And as we finish today and tomorrow, actually today is the last day of the first round of games. So USA, Portugal, Colombia, and a few others. That'll be Croatia, not USA, UK, or not UK, England. Portugal is playing right now against Democratic Republic of Congo, and there's a few others that'll be kicking off a little bit later today. So 4 games a day, basically, for the next couple of weeks before we get to the knockout rounds in the beginning of July. So love the World Cup. I love soccer. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a soccer mad, football mad fan. And love to pick up the jerseys of the national teams wherever I go, and hopefully be adding a few more in the year to come. So let's get right into our questions of the week. And for those of you who followed the roundup for a while, you'll know that we take our questions that we answer here on Wednesday afternoon from our newsletter that comes out on Monday morning. And I'm happy to say that our newsletter now has, between the 2 editions, we have well over 3,100 subscribers to the newsletter, available again in 2 versions, an email version as well as a LinkedIn version. And I'm dropping the links to those in the chat so that you have them for your reference in case you don't already subscribe. And the newsletters are just a great way to give you our hot takes on the previous week's news and what the implications might be for universities here in the United States with regard to our international education policies. But we do make an effort each week to get to kind of topics as we look at the news each week. We organize those topics into 4 main areas: social media, where a section that could be everything from how social media platforms are being used or leveraged in international education to upcoming webinars, digital reports, blogs, as well as AI reports, how AI is impacting what we do, anything digital. You're going to find that in the first section. Then we have a U.S. Central that focuses on the high-level news stories of the week that are impacting what we do. Could be executive orders, could be legislation that's been proposed, could be a new data report that's released. All those kind of things fit in the U.S. Central section. Then we'll get to our Solutions Central, and we do like to provide some positive news each week, because there's enough negative in the world that, particularly in international education, that we need some examples of what we can be doing differently to adjust how we do what we do. Then we finish with a global roundup each week of what's going on in the major destination markets around the world that are also trying to become hubs for international education. And we do that to provide perspective, because one thing we don't get enough opportunity, even though we work in international education, the students we bring in, the students we send abroad are from all over the world. We don't necessarily know how our colleagues in other countries are grappling with very similar issues that we are, particularly in the Big Four. US, UK, Canada, Australia, all four of us have had self-inflicted wounds that our governments have imposed on us, on our industry, in the last 4 to 5 years. Pandemic, some are coming out of the pandemic, and some are reactions to too much open doors and over immigration-related issues, on migration issues, on services, on housing. All these kinds of things often get dealt with in very similar ways in other markets. So it's good to have perspective, but also beyond the Big Four. We look at some of the other destination markets that are also changing the way they do things on the national level to attract international students as well. Let's send them away, send them to other countries, send their own to other countries. So let's get into our first question of the week. And that is, can we do anything to save our fall international class? Oh my goodness. We are all grappling with that at the moment. And my colleagues over at intl, some of the best folks in the business in terms of providing consulting services, marketing plans, project work related to targeting particular markets, doing campaigns in different countries to drive applications, to convert admits to yielded students. All of these things are great, and some also big strategic thinking kind of pieces as well. So intl, great folks. Really recommend them. Got some really outstanding folks working for them who've been in the business quite a bit, led by Ben Waxman. And certainly a lot of respect for Ben. Each year really has built something special in the international ed space. Now, his most recent blog is Bring Your Leads into Focus. And he's talking at the coming out of NAFSA, Bring Your Student Leads into Focus, and does a lot on what we can be doing, particularly during this very challenging time of the year when we're dealing with kind of a big unknown related to student visas, and are they going to be able to get them? And in certain key markets, we do see a lot of challenges still related to South Asia, in particular, getting approved for visas. We're seeing that a lot from where we were getting the bulk of our students from South Asia. So we're seeing now a need for a daily visa status tracking process. We know that we have one significant international recruitment partner in Uni Global that has teams on the ground that are working with all the students we've issued I-20s to through their agency partners that are really providing us up to the minute, up to the day feedback really on what's happening at the consulate, what they're being told by students, what in terms of feedback they're getting from visa officers, consular officers. So building that daily visa status tracking process it can be challenged, particularly if you're dealing with significant volume. We don't have that significant a volume yet, with just a couple 300 I-20s out there for fall admissions. So we're fingers crossed going to get at least 100 of those this year, 150, but we don't know yet. It's too early to tell. We still got 2 months before classes begin, 2 months and a bit. So we're hopeful that can happen. We are seeing some success with fully funded students, a lot of success with fully funded students, and no surprise at the doctoral level. But the masters and undergraduates we're struggling with, particularly from South Asia and Africa. Obviously, visas are very hard to come by. Whether it's because there are significant challenges with visas not even being issued at consulates and embassies because of changes in Africa, to very stubborn consular officer led kind of questioning that whether it relates to our asking students, do they feel safe in their home country? And if they answer negatively, then they're going to be considered, they might be denied a visa because they're going to be considered potential asylee risk if they come into the U.S. And I had another student this past week that she was asked the question whether she feels safe in her home country, and she said, yes, I feel perfectly safe and I'll have a lot to come back to. And the consular officer denied her because maybe it's not the right time for you to go to the United States. Maybe you won't be safe there. And just boggles the mind that we let consular officers, we're the only major destination market that does, requiring that in-person interview. We're letting these consular officers input their own personal biases into their interviews that have absolutely no bearing on whether they're a serious student, whether they have the funding, and whether they have a plan for when they're done, which is the three things legally they have to abide by. If a student can answer all three of those questions positively, and they don't have any security checks that are raising red flags or social media that are raising red flags, there is no reason that student shouldn't be given a visa. But it's happening every day in consulates around the world, particularly in South Asia, in Africa. What can we do about it? Because of the way the system's set up, nothing. It's absolutely a stone wall when we come up against it. But we need to be able to track our progress and know where that we are having some success, where we are moving the needle. And that's something we really need to focus on in our daily work at this stage in the recruitment cycle. So having that status, so having your director of ISSS always be reporting out on what who's gotten visa appointments, who's paid their CVIS fees, so we have an idea who's scheduled them, and then following up with the students shortly after if they don't contact us first. If they contact us first, which is usually the case when they get approved, that's great. But if they don't, then no news is oftentimes bad news when it comes to whether the students got visas or not. But we also need to be looking for money signals. This is again, I'm reading from a list in TED blog. Look for money signals where the financial checking calls with students if you have a deposit that's not or a missed payment, that might be a sign the student's interest is wavering. Audit your full deposit pipeline. It's another suggestion. Flagging every student who's not confirmed their I-20 status, that's not scheduled a visa appointment or gone silent. Have some personalized outreach to those students so that they're kept in the loop. Increase parent communications to undergraduate students, if you even do that. That might be something you want to add into the mix so that you're getting the real decision makers oftentimes as part of into your decision making process, so that you can have a sense of where they are, where those students really are. And when it comes right down to it, as we say all the way through the recruitment cycle, when you're involving your current students in helping to get those future students into the mix and to commit and to apply and to decide that they want to come, pay their deposits, and then once they get their visas, get to campus safely, use those current students to help move the needle with these with the ones that haven't yet committed or haven't gotten their visas yet. And think about the time that your staff have when they, in terms of follow-up that they do each year. Don't take things for granted. Keep it reasonable in terms of the number of points of contact you're making, but for those that aren't fully committed, but make sure that you're staying on task and not hounding them, but certainly making them aware that your interest is real in them. And then be ready for the unexpected. I know that's kind of normal for us. This time of year, especially last two summers, we've had this. We had a full month. Imagine this time last year, we're just coming to the end of the 3 or 4 week pause of visa appointments even being available. So we've had a month of visa appointments that we didn't have last year. Let's hopefully that improves our yield a little bit, our chances to yield. And just having an opportunity to be aware of what's going on in the world in terms of situations related to students, related to economies, related to government crises, related to natural disasters. All of these things can impact and do impact what we're doing. Now, in terms of that primer from Ben, it does emphasize, I think, what Ben says in this last piece, one of the last lines. The rules may be shifting, but our commitment to students does not. And that's something that I think we always has to be back of our in the forefront of our mind, is that our students are why we do what we do. And future students are the reason we have jobs, to keep bringing new students in, to keep giving those students opportunities to enhance who they are as individuals and become truly contributing members to their own society back home, and have opportunities to really develop who and what they're supposed to become. Another thing we need to be doing is always keeping in touch with the influencers, so that we're, particularly if students are coming from international schools or with agency partners, knowing what is going on if you don't have direct contact with the parents, but then the student's been maybe unresponsive, maybe the guidance counselors or the agents can give you the kind of insights you need to know, hey, is there anything we can do to help move the needle? One thing, and there was a webinar this past week that our friends at, I think it's KIC Univ Assist, that had a webinar yesterday. Ask a counselor what students really think about studying abroad. If you hadn't registered for that, I'm sure if you ask nicely, you can get a recording of that. But so that's something I really, whether it's the agent partners or the counselors in the schools, having an idea of what's actually happening in the students' lives, that you're not going to be, perhaps students don't want to tell you, that they may be a little bit, they might be ashamed, or they're not quite sure yet what's going on. So I think there's always going to be some things that need to impact, can impact what we do. So I really think it's worth your time to do the outreach to the influencers and the ones that might have more of a direct line to what is guiding or preventing that student from really committing to you on a more permanent basis. So let's get on to our next question of the day, and is, are we managing up expectations well? And a little oddly phrased, I admit, but managing up is one of those skill sets that we all, as international recruitment directors, international admissions counselors, whatever you might be, having the foresight to know that the more you're keeping your senior leadership involved in what's happening on the wider stage through, hey, these changes are happening. This is what we're hearing out in the market from our agent partners or our counselors on the ground for visa availability. Here are some of the challenges they're having at the visa window. That's something you need to be making sure leadership are aware of. So one thing we had done earlier this spring, and actually last fall, we were starting to, from our main recruitment partner, we were starting to hear right now at the graduate level, so for master's degree students, we typically don't give scholarships automatically. There are small department scholarships that might be available, but are oftentimes not made until late in the cycle, and too late to make a real difference for the individual student going for a visa appointment. There are a few students that get half assistantships in our College of Business, perhaps. But the greater majority of master's degree students coming in from abroad, they don't get anything in terms of financial assistance. So we've been hearing in the fall, we were hearing it again a lot in the spring, when we had our first wave of fall students going for visa appointments in South Asia. They were being told if they were great students, we admitted them, but we just couldn't give them an assistantship. They were being asked, why don't you have a scholarship? You're a really good student. Why don't you have any financial assistance? And calling into effect and doubting that student's legit. And but it really was kind of a stated reason when they were denied, that they got denied because you don't have funding. And so it makes us question whether you are a serious student. So it's even something small would have potentially made a difference. So that was feedback I was hearing from our partners out in the field. I took that to our leadership earlier in the spring, and within the last 2 to 3 weeks, we've had some significant movement during NAFSA, and shortly after, we were able to convince leadership that, hey, we need to do something here, and we devised it in a way that our board of trustees reduced our non-resident grad fee to a point where, and replaced it with an international fee for our international students, to allow us to scholarship. So we couldn't scholarship it when it was the grad non-resident fee, but we could when it was an international fee. So we could scholarship off that, basically a discount off the total price. So our total price wasn't changing, but we are able now to add in scholarships for graduate students. Small amounts, $3,000 a year, that we're now going back to all of our admitted students who have not yet committed and said, I want to enroll in, well, would like an I-20. We don't require deposits, so we're not like that. So we went back to all our admitted students. We're making that offer as we speak the next couple of days. For those that we've already issued I-20s to that haven't gone for their visa appointments yet, we're letting them know that they've been awarded the scholarship, giving them a new I-20, giving them a scholarship letter that backs that up so that they can then take that with them to the visa appointment. So that we're hoping will be a difference maker in key markets where we know, and we're doing this for all students, that all our new international students are getting this scholarship. Again, it's a accounting tool more than anything else. It's not money we're suddenly giving out of nowhere. It's just adding in a fee and then discounting the fee for students that are our international graduate students. So we're able to do that because our leadership listened to what I was keeping them in the loop on some of the challenge we're facing. We have been told them initially these were some concerns we're hearing from the field at the graduate level, especially that not having any funding. We already have funding for undergraduates, but we don't have really funding for graduates. So those ideas kind of got reinforced over the fall and into the spring. And then when we started seeing students getting denied this spring for the fall because they didn't have any funding, we're now seeing that our leadership responded, and I said to them before and after. So we had I think 78 students with master's degree I-20s that haven't gotten visas yet and haven't gone for appointments yet. Said if we even get half of them, that would be a huge improvement over where we were last year with that same group. So that moved the needle for leadership to then make the decision to, hey, we need to implement this now. So we were able to move that process because we're constantly keeping our leadership involved, constantly letting them know these are the challenges we're facing that we're hearing from the field, that whether it's NAFTA updates or folks from Education USA or agents, partners that we're working with, or major recruitment programs that we are partnering with. Those changes made a difference. By us keeping senior leadership informed, we're able to make this decision now at a time when we still have a chance on saving our fall class. So going back to that first question, we're making a shift in terms of our I-20s. We're having a total team effort. We're involving our ISSS folks. We're involving the financial aid folks who have to do the letters. We've got the admissions and enrollment management folks on board. We got the provost on board. We got our chief financial officer on board. All of them are contributed. Our slate people, our admissions, folks in admissions that do graduate admissions and coordinate those decisions. They're all a part of the process. So that over the last week, we've been able to hammer out the details and are now in process of notifying all of our admits and already I-20 students for the fall. Hey, you got a scholarship now. We really hope this makes a difference that in terms of you being able to come to us in the fall and getting your visa at the consulate in the next few weeks. So we've taken proactive steps, and we're only able to do that because we didn't just drop it on our administration a month ago saying, hey, if we don't have scholarships, we're not going to have a fall class. We didn't say that. We've brought them into it didn't hit them out of the blue. We've been keeping them up to date over the last few months that this was coming. So really, we set ourselves up well where we are at Akron to be in a position where senior leadership's on board. We're all pulling the same direction. We know we can't give away the farm. We know we need to make a certain amount of money on each student, so we couldn't over discount our tuition beyond a certain amount, given what we need to pay an agent plus what we're going to get in revenue from the student plus the scholarship. We couldn't have that couldn't have the scholarship and the agency fee be more than what we needed off the total cost of tuition fees for that student to still be revenue positive for the university. So these are the things that you have to decide, and you have to lay a foundation of those and establish those communication channels up the chain so that leadership is aware. So that's something that you don't want to overlook in terms of how you do what you do. And now there's a Higher Ed Drive article that came out last week that I think is very important in terms of understanding where we are. It's called the State of International Enrollment in 6 charts. So very digestible chunks that will kind of make clear what's happening with new international enrollments that, yes, we know they dropped last fall, but they were dropping even before Trump took office again in January 25. It talks about India overtaking China as a top source of international students, but challenges with visas are keeping those numbers a little bit more subdued. That Nigeria has doubled the number of college students studying in the United States in a decade into the top 10 in terms of ascending country to the U.S., but now we can't get it anymore. So a top 10 country now off the table in terms of new students from outside the U.S. coming from Nigeria. So that's one of those lessons. So travel bans, and now what's going to be happening in Africa related to only 20 countries are going to be able to issue visas, and 5 of those are travel ban countries. So that the U.S. also put out a rule last year that would contradict the ability of some students to get visas now beyond the travel bans, because they prohibited students from going to third countries to get visas because they were available in another country more than they were in their home country. So that's off the table too now. So a lot of conflicts, a lot of challenges, as we've been pointing out over the last few months. But this chart certainly makes that clear, knowing what the travel bans are, and knowing that Iran is completely off the table, knowing that Nigeria, another top 10 sending countries, off the table. Those things have real world implications in terms of fall enrollment. So managing the expectations of leadership in terms of what that will be for you in the fall is so very important. And these charts also sharing where the most international students are in the top 20 list, and that graduate enrollment dipped 2.7% last year. What that means for international this year. So very important stuff. Good article that can be shared with leadership to kind of encapsulate a lot of the core things that we're facing in international education now. Now, our third and final question of the day is one that is becoming very important, I think, for most of us that are recruiting internationally now know we need to diversify. We've already known this for a number of years, but we need to diversify where we're recruiting students from. And one of the areas of the world that's becoming increasingly attractive for us to recruit in is where visa success rates are higher than most. And Latin America has certainly shot up on a lot of our radars. Some of us were already recruiting there for a while, but for those that are looking for new opportunities, Latin America is a good place to be checking out. And it's not somewhere you're going to go and have a lot of easy, quick wins, because most of Latin America, it's a very relational process, whether it's with agents, with schools, with families, and in terms of familiarity with you as an institution. They have to warm up to you. And that's one of the things you need to know about if new markets you're going into. What matters most when recruiting in Latin America? So there were 2 articles that we'll be sharing in the chat. One of those is, both of these are from ICEF Monitor, and one is on Colombia and one is on Brazil. And they share some similar things, but also some very unique opportunities that we need to be aware of. So I'll start first with Colombia. And we'll go from north to south, from the U.S. to Colombia. And the ICEF report focuses on 3 different things. A new report on Colombia provides a great reminder that successful student recruitment depends on human connection, not AI. And keep that in mind. Well, there are going to be a lot more stories on that in the coming weeks. Family is paramount for Colombians, and reflecting the cultural characteristics in marketing campaigns and on-the-ground outreach is crucial. So having a local in-country rep, someone who speaks the language, who can translate for you who you are as an institution to the folks locally, that matters. That will be an important piece. And in terms of study abroad placements out of Colombia, 6 out of 10 students coming from out of Colombia to study abroad are coming through agents. So they are more central to recruitment than even Brazil or Mexico in terms of the agent's role in that recruitment process. So 3 things that you want to be aware of from Colombia. From Brazil, their study abroad is a common goal among Brazilian students, especially for learning another language. They're actually a top 2 or 3 country, top 4 for sure, country for English language programs in the United States. Brazilian educational agents are optimistic that students' demands will rise for more study abroad in 26 after a strong 2025. Agents do say that converting demand to placement is highly dependent on students' ability to afford the cost of studying and living abroad. So they're a fairly price-sensitive market, but there are funds. And that the current Middle East crisis is the wild card this year, affecting Brazilian households' finances and livelihoods as it does in many other countries. So world events matter, and it can impact countries a world away. So all of that is relevant to how we do what we do in international education before you even go recruit, but certainly on the back end when you're trying to get students to convince them that they should go for their visas and come in the fall. So there's a great, there's an organization, Brazilian Educational and Language Travel Association, that they've done surveys to students and agencies that were the result of this partnership. So hopefully you have a chance to read both of these and get an understanding of what's happening in Colombia and Brazil. So a lot happening around the world, as we know. We're still waiting for the fall class to appear, obviously, in the next couple of months and be successful in getting their visas. But for all of you, certainly wish you my best to you and the team that you're supporting in the World Cup if you follow soccer, football. Certainly a lot to be excited about. And I know the Portugal game is already about half hour in, and Portugal's already 1-0 up over the Democratic Republic of Congo. So hopefully we'll have more live updates from the field in the weeks and months to come. So thanks very much for your time, and we look forward to chatting with you next week. Cheers.